One doesn't necessarily expect a kids show to be full of darkness and terror, but here we are. It happens all the time. I guess most folks who want to have fun making entertainment for kids need to make the world super dark or they just lose all drive. While some shows have the occasional dark and stormy episode, there are some that can keep that energy up at all times, and it can get pretty nuts. Often they'll kind of gloss over the truly disturbing background elements with a sheen of goodness and light too. Let's peel back that protective layer and take a look at the evil at these shows' cores. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Top 5 Scary Kids Shows with Dark Origins, Part 2. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more petrifying programs. Perfect, let's begin. Kicking us off at number 5, we've got Gloom. Just looking at this show tells you exactly what it's all about. Sure, it's got some real cutesy characters and cheerful music, but it is literally about monsters and ghosts. It doesn't matter how friendly and bright the titular Ruby can make things, we're always gonna have to reckon with the fact that a great deal of these characters are dying, dead, or cursed. It's like having a tea party in a cemetery. Sure, the pastries are delicious and the tea is splendid, but you're sitting 6 feet above rotting corpses. In fact, it's kind of disconcerting that Ruby tries to spin everything positively. It's like she's a propagandist or a delusional lunatic. All the characters have dark secrets that don't often get addressed. Iris is a sociopathic cyclops, always seeking out adventure. She constantly ropes her friends into dangerous, harebrained schemes and then tries to explain away any and all damage. Misery is the human body of disaster. Spend any time near her and bad things will happen. It's like Murphy's Law come to life. She and her many relatives have connections to pretty much every major disaster in history, so all sorts of genocides, deadly weather events, and infrastructure collapses are indeed canon in the Ruby Gloom universe. Add in her constant tearfulness and you've got a rough character. Skullboy is a literal skeleton come to life. Where do skeletons come from? Ah yes, dead people. And it's a child skeleton, meaning that this show also finds origin in dead kids. Frank and Len are conjoined twins, but may have not started out that way. Their different colorations make people think that they might have been attached post-birth, likely through some mad science experiment. Ghosts are a common experience in the Gloom world too, and these apparitions don't often stick around for fun reasons. No, most ghosts return because they died in a gruesome manner, or they still have business to attend to from before their death. All in all, there's a lot of scary stuff going on behind the curtains of happiness here. Coming in at number 4, we've got Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Hear me out, this show has a sinister side. It begins with young Mac being forced to ditch his imaginary friend at an orphanage of sorts, maybe more akin to an animal shelter. Either way, that's a rough start. A young lad who is obviously not ready to part with his seemingly very corporeal imaginary friend being forcefully separated from it. It's like your parents telling you the dog went to go live on a nice farm somewhere. And because he had to give him up so early, before Blue disappeared on his own as most natural imaginary friends would, Mac ends up in a weird extended childhood of sorts. Instead of going out and making friends of his own when he's ready, Mac clings to the idea of having an imaginary friend and continues to visit the old mansion where abandoned pals reside. This results in plenty of hijinks, some less lighthearted than others. Mac gets bullied, imaginary friends search for their owners that abandoned them, and of course we have to reckon with what it would mean to create real, physical imaginary friends. First of all, what if someone came up with a dangerous one? Like, some kids are nuts. They might come up with a giant green alien in a Master Chief combat suit who really likes murdering the mean teachers at school. Or maybe a kid inadvertently dreams up a radioactive beast that walks around, unknowingly providing everyone around with cancerous cells. And what about the imaginary friends that are left behind without being dropped off at an orphanage? What if the dreamer dies or just drops them in the middle of nowhere? Are imaginary friends mortal? Can they hate? How do we deal with these questions? Coming in at number 3, we've got real monsters. Need I explain? This Nickelodeon gem takes place in a world where monsters and humans coexist. Sort of. It kind of operates like Monsters, Inc., where monsters are technically not supposed to be known by humans and they venture into the human world to score scares. We follow 3 monster pals, Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb, as they go to scare school and wander around a fantasy New York. Ickis can grow to great sizes to loom and scare people, Oblina can pull at her organs and shapeshift, and Crumb tends to rely on his nasty stink to get scares. While mostly kid-friendly on the surface, there is plenty of dank weirdness lurking around in the dark. One particularly un-kid-friendly piece of information about this show is that it was based on the world of Blade Runner. Yep, essentially in the same universe as Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So in the monster world, you can reasonably assume that replicants are used as slaves as well. The fictional New York the monsters all inhabit is plenty sleazy and greasy, not unlike the cities featured in the neo-noir classic. Tim Curry and Jim Belushi provide voices for recurring characters too, possibly infusing them with some elements of Pennywise the Clown and Twin Peaks. At one point, there was an Real Monsters movie in development, but it was permanently shut down due to people thinking that it wasn't very kid-friendly. What could they possibly have been putting together to get it shut down like that? Monsters eating people? Destroying public property? Drugs? Coming in at number 2, we've got Over the Garden Wall. Major spoilers coming up for anyone who hasn't seen this show. You've been warned. Over the Garden Wall is a very Halloween-y miniseries. The vibe is quite spooky, but it goes much deeper than that. Brothers Wirt and Greg are lost in a strange place known as the Unknown. They don't know how they got there, and they definitely don't know how to get out. To make matters much worse, they are constantly being followed by a creature known as the Beast, who wants to turn them into trees to light his lantern. Putting 2 and 2 together means realizing that most of the Edelwood trees in this world are likely made of other children. Grim. As the boys gallivant in the forest, they come across a bird who claims to want to help them. This feathered friend says they should seek out the woman named Adelaide, who should be able to help them get sent home. Turns out that Adelaide just wanted to enslave the children. Oh boy. There are many dark moments in the show that you might kind of skim over on a first watch, but the deeper you look, the worse things get. The Unknown is a freaky place. And at the end of the show, you realize that the boys aren't in some random enchanted forest. No, they are literally in purgatory. On Halloween in the real world, Wirt saves Greg from an oncoming train by pulling him into a pond. They both apparently start to drown and share in an afterlife hallucination together in the Unknown. My goodness. And finally, at number 1, we've got Gravity Falls. This one might have been a little too obvious, but I'll include it anyway. Dipper and Mabel head off to their grunkle's place in Gravity Falls, a famously paranormal little town in Oregon. Paranormal activity doesn't often come from a place of sunshine and rainbows. There are many cryptids and urban legends the siblings encounter that have very creepy origins. We've got flesh-hungry zombies, we've got a Carpenterian shapeshifter, we've got a Doki Doki Monica adjacent computer being, and of course, we've got Bill Cipher. After being a mystery for an extended period of time, Bill Cipher's true story is a horrifying one. He's essentially a cosmic being, a presence from another dimension who got bored and decided to mess with the people of Earth. He causes mad chaos and drives people mad in the process. If these creatures are any indication of the kind of place Gravity Falls is, we can all assume that it is a very dark neck of the woods. And all of this is on the table for every kid with Disney Plus to explore. Speaking of, that's another part of the dark origin, eh? Being made by Disney. Haha. Holy smokes. Did you watch any of these shows as a kid? Did they scare you? Did they maybe have an effect on the kind of content you consume these days? What's the scariest kids show you've ever seen? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more criminal ones from the top 5 Pokemon that would be scary in real life. Devea Seals says, you know there's a Pokemon that is called Chandelure and that basically collects souls and burns them for fuel for itself. It waits at hospitals for people to die. But it's so cute. How could you ever be scared of a little waxy waif? Clinton Suggs says my favorite is Dusk Noir, a giant ghost with a mouth on its stomach that leads into the underworld. Its beefy defense and spin blocking capabilities are no joke either. Chaotic 42 Kami says Tyranitar is based on Godzilla. Enough said. Too bad it can't get as big as Godzilla though. Well, actually I guess Dynamax exists. Jin Wong says, I just want my Eevee. Me too, Jin. Me too. What evolution would you go for? And Emma the Emo says, Ditto may not be scary, but he's one who would cause problems by shapeshifting into people, committing crimes, pulling pranks, causing confusion, etc. Yeah, Ditto could topple governments if it wanted to. Thankfully, it seems content just chilling. That's all the time we have for today. Before I hug a ponytail that isn't mine, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more wicked watches. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Gonna sneeze. Oh boy. Sneezing again. Wow.